So, Lindsay, Peat, how are you? Welcome to the OLSC Q&A. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
No, thanks a million, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Not at all, not at all. Listen, we're delighted to have you on. You know, I mean, obviously we are used to doing Q&As in the line out. Unfortunately, given where we are, it's not possible. So we only got our online Q&As kind of started there last week. So we're delighted to be able to have you on as well for the third in our series of Q&As. So look, as I said, thanks for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it, and I know the fans will as well.
Oh, thank you very much. I've seen the two lads. You had Jack and Tig on, so I'm following in good stead with two legends in a Leinster rugby jersey.
Well, we're bringing on the third one now with yourself. I'm going to start with a different approach, if you don't mind. So would you mind taking us back to February 2020? Not a good time. You obviously had the injury then in the England game.
Yeah.
COVID obviously kicked in there as well. So from a mental and physical journey, Lindsay, what was that like, trying to do a recovery, given family life and all that stuff as well?
Yeah, I can't lie, Alan. It was tough because you're always trying to juggle, in my life anyway, trying to be an amateur sports person, you're trying to be a wife, a parent, and you're trying to keep a house going. So, I was really tried to keep the mindset on what I could control, how I was going to get back. I always said with retirement with elite athletes, sometimes you don't have control over when it's your time to bow out. And I thought, God, is this going to be my time? Broken leg against England. And, I suppose I was a bit angry at that. I only got 12 minutes. I didn't even get a good rap at any, English defence. And we always want to pitch ourselves against world-class opposition, which we've seen in the English, who are now world number one. So there was lots going around in my head. I was angry. I was optimistic. I was then COVID hit, and part of me was like, Grant, I may not miss any games. I've time now to rehab. There's no pressure on me. But then the other side was I'd no hands-on physio, and I'd no one sort of guide me. So the RFU, I have to say, were great. I got equipment out to the house, and that was it. Enabled me to continue on with my rehab. So that was all in my control. So I was able to crack on with that. But as regards getting on feet, it took a little bit of time. And then when I did eventually get on feet, I couldn't get swelling down the legs. So we had a couple of sort of stumbles, no more than Tig has had over the last couple of months with his own injuries. That's part and parcel of playing such game that is rugby that we love. So I got through. I was able to keep going, and thankfully, I suppose we all had to. It was a pandemic. Everyone was suffering with COVID, and I had to remember all the challenges that I've been through my sporting career and through my own life, and try and remember that I've been through them and come out the other side. And I had dark days, can't lie to you. But
yeah.
The neighbours went by en masse, and I'm hanging off the side gate doing chin-ups, and a part of me had to laugh. And I was like, and then I had the neighbour come out, and she's putting out her bin. She's like, you put me to shame. Most mornings I see you doing chin-ups, and that was the motivation I needed. I'm here, I can do this, and it took a little bit of a while, but we got in and we started team Zoom calls, and that again gave people that social interaction that we're used to. And I thrive off a competitive edge, and I didn't have that. I really didn't have that. But then, as I said, the team Zoom calls, and then as lockdown started to loosen, we were able to meet people outside at a distance under the guidelines. So, yeah, thankfully, we're out the other side, and I'm back on a rugby pitch.
And what was that like then? So obviously coming back then against Italy, scoring one, setting up another. And I know prior to coming onto this call, there is the certain elephant in the room, but there is now an accolade, another one hanging over you, which is the oldest international player to score. So what was that emotion like running back onto the pitch, given it was only 8 months, Lindsay? And I mean, if we look at other players, Dan, for example, 19 months out. So 8 months to get back is a huge testament to yourself, given everything. What was that like, running back out in the green again?
Well, before I go into that, I'm going to give a shout out to Dan Levy, because I met him in UCD, him doing his rehab on the UCD pitches, and I was beside him doing the other, starting my rehab run. So it was nice to say hello to one another and, push each other on. And he showed me that his big scar and his injury. So I have to give a huge congrats. It was so great to see him start last week and come on, eventually get his try. So probably a bit, I'm sure, feeling the same as he did. Just so thankful to be back on a pitch, but probably no more than any athlete does, I was questioning myself, was I going to come back the player I was when I left before the leg? Had I still stuff to offer? Had I missed out? Like, it probably was, I was still being managed when I got back into camp, you know, load-wise, to make sure the leg wasn't going as well. I hadn't had contact. And part of me was kind of nervous. Was this leg ready to take, you know, what I was going to come up against in the front row?
Yeah.
But to score the try and eventually get into it and set up another. And more importantly, though that's a personal thing, to be, you know, hugely involved throughout the game initially on a team basis, and to get the result and to really get that third home win that we were looking for and that we had given ourselves prior to the Six Nations was huge. And it definitely gave all those dark moments I just swept into the side, and it was so good to be back in an Ireland jersey. And the only thing that was missing was the crowd, because it really isn't the same to not have that energy of Energy of Park.
Because I mean, like it's kind of a way now that the ladies team have made Energy a Park their base in a way. Exactly, you know, and I think it's fantastic to see, you know, like, you know, you always see such a crowd there. And I think, you know, the thing I like about it as well is that the crowd are always able to move up and down in the standing terrace. And it's always great to see, you know, like literally the moving up. And it really is like your own little fortress in a way, you know, like it's your base.
Yep.
To start.
Yeah, it's doubly because obviously I've had so many great memories there with Leinster as well. So, you know, for anyone outside of our province, you know, they may not have had it, but it's certainly such a comforting place. It's a really place I call home. And I said there's been many great days winning Interpros and then having great Irish wins and performances under there. So yeah, we have made it, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we continue to strive to do, is that we want more crowds there. We want to make it our fortress, and that's both in the blue of Leinster and the green of Ireland. So I have to say I absolutely love it. I really, really do love the ground.
Great. Listen, I'm just going to, this is incredible. Between Gaelic football, basketball, rugby, you're probably sick of hearing it. I've put together a little timeline, and I've a question coming on it. So 98 was football. Between 05 and 15 was basketball. 09 and 15 was GAA at club level for Parnells. 09 to 14 was intercounty GAA, and 2015 to now is rugby. So Jack spoke last week about his mum kind of being a taxi driver for all the sports and stuff like that. Lindsay, there is so much in there, including college as well for 4 years in between that. Like, how did you just kind of, what was your motivation for doing all this?
To be honest, it was, I like seeing a bit of Jack's interview, and no more than any parent trying to facilitate their kids' happiness. My mum probably was the instigator in getting me into sport. I'm the eldest of her 3 girls, so she found a girl she went to school with. The brother was setting up a basketball, and she sent me over. Now, I had been playing soccer on the road with 2 young lads when I moved to where we've lived for the last 30 odd years. And they were the only 2 kids my age. So we used to play 7-up, we used to play curve. So we used to play a bit of soccer. So we eventually got into basketball. And to be honest, Alan, I just thrived. It was an area of life where I just got a huge energy and buzz and confidence that I may not have had outside in my, outside of sport. And absolutely, I was able to bring out an inner part of me, and I was able to develop those skills over what has been nearly a 20-year, journey on sport. My mom did help us, but thankfully I did a lot of walking between, I live in Artane, the club was in Coolock, Parnells in Coolock. So we used to just walk or get buses or carpool or just really community based. And that's where you made a lot of friends. I still have a lot of friends through basketball and football. And I had 2 come up to last year's game against Wales that really where every season under the sun hit us during that match. And that girl I co-captained Ireland basketball with, and a girl at Trish Nolan who coached me, and that's where the interlink of sport and communities comes in. And I just think that as a really people person and just a lust for life, that really has been accentuated through sport and all the good and bad times. It's just been a roller coaster, and it's been hugely positive for me, thankfully.
And then college in between that as well. I mean, with all due respect, were you just thinking, God, I'm not busy enough, I'll just throw something else into the mix? Or kind of, because look, I mean, I went back to college a few years back as well, and I was mixing it in with a nighttime job. You were obviously with that, partner, family life, because your son probably would have been kind of towards the end of that as well, given his age. So how did you work all that in, Lindsay? Was there another motivation, or what was behind that?
Well, before I come on to you as I'm studying for an interview tomorrow. So I'm a long-standing servant of the health service executive, and at that time I went back to college. There was just an embargo on everything, so I was sort of a little bit felt like I was rotten at the desk, and I had huge success through Irish basketball and GAA. So what I was getting outside of work was a huge burst of energy and adrenaline, and I was making inroads in that sense, and for work, through no one's fault, I just felt it was maybe time to look at going back to a mature student, to maybe look at my dream of becoming a PE teacher. That's always what I wanted to do. And that's when I decided to go back and do PE and biology in DCU, and thankfully with the support of my wife, it was my partner at the time. It was a tough time. I was trying to juggle sport, I was trying to juggle part-time work, and then college. And I'm not the most, it's not that I'm not intelligent, I'm not the most academic. I tend to not be able to sit down for long periods and concentrate, whereas I'm a doer. You know, I prefer to do it, maybe an apprenticeship or anything like that. That would suit me a little bit better. But we're through it. I have the degree. I haven't been able to work in it fully, but I hope to go back and maybe use it through coaching, or maybe go back teaching one day. But unfortunately, the journey has been interrupted with positively by being able to continue being an athlete and being a player. So it's still there for me.
Good stuff. And actually, we might just tap into that then with coaching, if you don't mind. So I've seen, obviously, you were talking about community involvement, and kind of if we look at, you know, Bank of Ireland, Leinster, from the ground up, all that. So like a lot of work has been done now at the moment between all the local community officers, give it a try, pop-up clubs, stuff like that. Have you kind of, you know, and would you see it now, obviously through your involvement, well, in Railway Union, do you see more and more girls coming into the sport now?
Absolutely. Like when I started with Railway, definitely women's rugby. We had some big clubs like University Limerick would have been there, Bows would have been there for a long time, but they would have been obviously getting a good feed of players from the University of Limerick. And you'd have other clubs of that nature. But as to broaden and deepen the pool of players was when we were coming in. But we've since been involved in the club, and obviously Larissa Muldoon is hugely involved with Leinster and a community based and trying to get girls involved. So she's doing an amazing job. She's also involved when she can in our own club, and we've also gone down for the underage program to try and give a dig out and get players there. So we're all the time trying to promote the sport, promote the club, and get people involved. And like the crowds have just been bigger and bigger and bigger at the rugby matches for Leinster, for Ireland, and the amount of young girls who come up from different clubs, from Navan, from Gorey, from Clontarf, you know, the list is endless. There's loads of clubs I could mention. They just thrive off that, because now they can see players that they can relate to, that they can see that they're real, that they can aspire to, and before they may not have had that. So I think we're in such a good position, and we now need just to make sure that we feed in that, and that we give them every opportunity to avail of trying out rugby seeds for them. And if it is that we have a pathway to fulfill their dream of being an interprovincial and then a national player.
Absolutely,
So everyone's doing fantastic work.
Because like even like two clubs actually quite close to myself here are Coolmine Rugby Club, and then Westmanstown isn't too far off as well. I know from talking to Maz was in Westmanstown as well, But I mean, Coolmine, I still check in with. They had 100 girls at their recent training, so like they've literally, you know, that's where they've built up to. And I know Westmanstown, I'm only saying it because my sister's actually the PRO there as well, so she's doing a huge amount of that. But like it's great to, like, as you say, I think it's great that people no longer just see an athlete. People see you there and go, I can do that. Like, I don't have to join sport at 4 or 5. I can do a Lindsay and take up sport a lot later. I can do a Jack and take up rugby at whatever age. So I think it's, you know, this is, you know, it really is, you know, as you say, from the ground up, and just giving all these clubs, you know, an outlet and just supporting them and saying, hello, you know, anyone can do it. Yeah.
Larry actually rang me. Larissa rang me about Coolmine. She was out. She said, I think she said she'd 111. She definitely gave me a number of over 100, and then trying to, you know, see ways about, you know, players coming out. We were chatting about that. So I would hope to get out with her in the next couple of weeks and, you know, be there and be involved in training with the girls. And we always want to do that. The unfortunate bit for us as amateur, and that's where sometimes we don't have that time. And it's one area that I want to give more to. And a lot of the players would say the same. And And that's why you always see us at the end of games trying to give our time to the young girls, because they've made such an effort. And we were there, we were them at one stage, and we didn't have the games they go to. So a huge shout out to all the clubs putting in all the work, to your sister, to everyone working on the ground. I don't think they're given enough thanks, but without them, we certainly wouldn't be here chatting.
Let's kind of move into the 2020 campaign, which is obviously getting more and getting more media coverage and getting more getting more involved in for women in sport. And we as the OLSC, we actually put together the away guide for the Leinster Harlequins game back in Twickenham, and it was our plan. It was our plan to do more, but unfortunately, this little pandemic kind of kicked in. But I want to ask you. You're running out there in Twickenham, Lindsay. What's that like from an emotion point of view? Like you're running out there, and it's not just Twickenham for you. Like you've done Croke Park, you've done big stadiums. What's that like, trying to keep emotions in check, running out into stadiums like that?
Huge. So when I'm growing up, I big Liverpool fan, big Dublin fan. I watched everything from the terrace, or I watched in the telly, or I watched NBA. And it didn't bother me that these were male athletes. I just wanted to be them. So I wanted to run out in front of these stadiums. I wanted to be in front of that crowd. I wanted to score those goals. I wanted to score those tries and celebrate with everyone who supported the club I was playing for. So to run out in Twickenham, which is basically the home of English rugby, our biggest and nearest rivals, to play in Croke Park, it's the pinnacle of my athletic career. Like that has been it. So to keep those emotions in check for a dream to come true is hard, but I also thankfully was able to use it to just, like, probably one of my finest games of rugby was the Harlequin game. It really was. I enjoyed it so much. Again, I was back after injury. I'd been out with a neck just after the Interpros. It kicked off again for me, a bulging disc. So I didn't think again I'd be back. And I get to come back to a match where we should have won. We played some absolutely unbelievable rugby.
Absolutely. It was fabulous game to look at. I think it's definitely something which I think more and more clubs now need to push. I think the only downside to it, and not from a playing point of view, was just, I know it was part of their kind of big celebration day or whatever, because I know so many would have travelled to that if they had been able to. So I really hope now that it's something that all the rugby unions aspire to go, no, hang on, let's go and put a game on when, like, let's showcase a game at a reasonable time, and I mean that with the utmost of respect.
No, absolutely. And this is the thing that we need to look at with, the 2020 campaign is absolutely brilliant, because it's highlighted and made people have the conversations that they didn't have before. So it's made us do that. It's made us stand up and listen. And even from my own point of view of being a player, not accepting second best, because you're like, for years you'd be like, oh no, we're getting, I remember speaking to a coach saying, oh God, around basketball time, you'd only get a lot of coverage around the cup, which would be January. And I remember he said, I said, the newspapers have contacted me. I couldn't do that interview. And he said, no, you need to look at it that this is an opportunity to showcase not only the club, but the sport, and obviously women's sport. Absolutely. And again, it's not a gender thing. It's about trying to progress it. It's trying to highlight it. It's trying to showcase it. And I do take your point on board, and I totally agree that this Big 12 match is a huge in the calendar for the English calendar. But where is it on an Irish level? Like, we're the standard bearers at Leinster and showed exactly what quality of rugby we can play against really top class opposition in Europe in a really cool stadium, having everything that the professional male side had got. It was brilliant. It was epic. We're the standard bearers. But where do we do it over here? Can we couple it with a Leinster game in the Aviva? Could we couple it with an international game in the Aviva?
Yeah.
If we don't have the big stakeholders like we've had with Leinster and Bank of Ireland getting behind us, then no one really will take us seriously. That's unfortunately on the next level. So again, it's not a negative. It's a huge thank you to everyone who's gotten behind us, as said yourselves, Leinster, Bank of Ireland, because without those supports, we can only reach a certain level. We can only do so much. But it's been a pleasure and an honour to be able to, as I said, be the standard bearers in a Leinster jersey.
And speaking now kind of, standard bearer, this is something now that I came across. You've been very quiet on this. Girls Play 2, the Jackie Hurley book.
Yes.
25 female. I'll be very ignorant and I'll put my hand up and I'll say it. I only came across this recently and I apologise, but...
Do you not apologise?
25 female athletes those 3 are rugby players.
Yep.
Of those 25 athletes, 4 of them are listed as 2 or more sports. But of those 4, only 2 are listed as 3 or more sports. And one of those is you.
Yeah.
So my question is, did Jackie approach you, and how did that feel to be approached to be in a book which is in the year of 2020 called Girls Play Too? How did that feel?
Jackie did approach me. She sat in the very seat I'm sitting in my kitchen.
That's all right. I thought you kind of said she was sitting here. I was like, what?
In through your window. Hello. No, she came and I was like, yeah, drop into the house. This is probably last January, I'm going to say. And she came with an idea, and I suppose I took it without being ignorant, with a pinch of salt. I didn't really see the vision that Jackie had. And obviously part of me was like, my God, am I worthy of this? You know, the amount of people who's there. I've idolised the likes of Susan Moore and got to play with her, like Rena Buckley played against her, Breach Cork. Fiona Coughlin obviously has her own captain in Ireland to a semi-final.
Yeah.
You know, the list is endless. Kelly Harrington, Sunita Pusport, like there's a lot, like the amount of athletes in that book is ridiculous.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Incredible. And she's done an amazing job. And anyone who hasn't, have a look at it, because I read it to my son. Now, he did ask me for a book with all, because he's the only boy in the house, could he have a book with all male athletes? But I was like, yeah, we will when we're finished this one. But the fact that he's like, oh, you're famous, you're in a book. It's nice to see the next generation see female athletes in a bit of a different light, and again try and push. It's again looking at the progression of how we view female sports and the different sports through that. And again, it's just about changing what we deem as social norms. It's no one's fault. It's just changing what has been the norm over decades, and now we're looking at something different. And I think, as I said, Jackie's done a great job. It is a great book, and
it really is. Yeah, I actually ordered it, just, you know, in doing the research and this. I actually went out and ordered it, and I definitely encourage anyone, because, like, as you say, like, it's 25 female athletes, but like, if you look at accolades across that, it's just incredible, Lindsay. It's incredible as to who's there, you know. And I mean, like, as you say, you know, like 3 people from rugby in that, you know. So yourself, Fiona Coughlin, Joy Neville, Joy, who's tearing it up in the TMO box and on the pitch, you know, recently. And it's, I have to say, like, anytime I watch games now and Joy is officiating in the TMO, it's, again, it's referee to referee. If you know, it's literally, right, you're the referee, what are you seeing on the pitch? And, like, again, any of those 25 athletes are worthy of a book on their own. I think to put all 25 of them in is the book, you know, should be that big, you know.
Yeah, but she's done a great job, because it's kind of like it is aimed at a kid's audience. It keeps it very not even childlike. They are sort of fairy tales, but they're true stories for anybody, any athlete who wants to aspire. And so hats off to Jackie, and I have to say a big thank you to her for including me, because part of me didn't feel worthy enough. There's so many athletes who haven't been included in that book, but it's an absolute honour for myself to be included. And I have to say, for Joy as a referee, and not just saying it because she's Irish or anything else, to have her, the experience of her as a referee, she's so good to have as a player. She's clear, she's concise, and she's consistent with what she wants to implement as a referee.
Absolutely.
And she just let you play. And obviously we had her in that Harlequins Leinster game, and again, as much as she could, she let the game flow, and I thought she's excellent. She's always excellent.
Before we move on to one last point, how many has your number of sports increased now as you talk to your son? Because I think he did make reference during an interview, and it was like, oh, 3 sports, and you told him, you know, that you were good at 3 sports. Does that increase slightly as you go along, or have you just left it at 3 now for your son?
I suppose part of me doesn't want to put pressure on him to go into any sport at the minute. He started in the GA Academy close by here, and he does gymnastics on a Tuesday. So part of me wants to make sure he has the enjoyment of sport, and he buzzes. You know, he's been at Leinster games. He's obviously led us out as a mascot in the final, which was a dream come true for me. And I have so many photos here. So for now, I know he buzzes off the energy that we all get from sport. And, you know, videos of him shouting, "Let's go, mama." And he he gets it, but he doesn't get it. He just gets the buzz off, and he gets the energy, and he loves that. And that's what I want him to experience at all times. And if he decides he wants to go into it as a player, and my philosophy on sport is for everyone, whether that's a sport or a referee, you know, a volunteer, a committee, whatever. You get the camaraderie, the buzz, and that common goal of supporting Leinster or loving rugby or whatever sport it may be. And so part of me never lists the sport unless I really need to confirm it or anything, or you know, remind them that you know, I've done it too, and I'm up there with, you know, everyone else. And you know, part of me is, so I don't want the accolade, but part of me, you have to do it to make sure that, you know, not remind him, because I mean he's only 4, but you know, just to, yeah, just at times. But I don't want to put that pressure on him, so we just have the crack until we're having one-on-one games, and then I have to let him win.
One of the points, Lindsay, in the 2020 campaign is media coverage and giving more the importance of the interest in the game through more media coverage. So I want to take you back. I don't know if you saw the Leinster game on Sunday on TG Cahir.
Yeah, and we had the all-female
panel. What was your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on it?
I think it was historic. I think it was historic for such a channel like TG Cahir, who shows obviously all the Pro 14 games, to take that chance on having an all-female and making a statement.
Yeah.
We've so many players. I mean, Jenny Murphy is like, we're all rugby fanatical, but Jenny is fanatical. You know, her analysis and Eaton she's done previously. Obviously, she's commented on games usually on radio, so she's had loads of experience, and it was great to see her in the edition. I obviously play with Emer, and I've seen her, and she's exceptional. Derv was new to the game, but again, I just thought it was historic. I was quite emotional about it, really, and I probably didn't give him enough credit. I think every time I seen it, I had a kind of tear, but and then Sunday morning, you know, put it up and just was so proud of them, and so proud of TG Cahir. And we need, as I said, we need more like that, because we need transparency. We need to showcase, like everyone who's doing it. Again, I don't want to make it gender, but we're trying to change something. So we have to, at this stage, bring the female side of it up in line as much as we can. So if you're good at the job, regardless of your gender, you should be there, you know, and it's about trialing that. So it was historic, and it was great again to see it for a Leinster game.
Because I think I'm trying to remember back if it was this weekend or last weekend. I think it was the weekend just gone, and the Wales international game, and I was on one of the channels, and the one of the co-commentators was an ex Welsh rugby player in that as well. So, and she was commentating on that game, and I thought, I mean, like as you rightly say, if you've played the game and you know the game inside out, regardless of gender, you should be there giving your opinion and your analysis.
And and the thing about analysis, right, is how you see the game and how I see the game might differ because of our style of play or what we're expecting. And that's where it's good to see. We've seen it with Giles and Dunphy on soccer. Like, they don't always agree. That's where we get good viewing. And that's where it's nice and exciting, because you don't know what's people's opinion. So it's not always what you're meant to say. It's that you're confident in your own opinion on the game. Because I know Nolly Washman as well would have commented on a lot. And so it's great to see, and Maggie Alfonsi is hugely there alongside. So we have certainly TV companies really taking chance out there, and again leading the way. And it was great to see, as I said again, TG Cahir leading the way. And again, it's great to see from a Leinster point of view.
The only thing now, maybe just in thinking, does Jenny need a couple of words, Oscar Elga? Do we need to get Jenny, if she's on TG Cahir, a couple of focal for Jenny? What do you reckon?
I think she's well able to throw in a couple of focal here and there. It's always great to have both sides, which is great to obviously have the Gael goers there, but it's nice to see Jenny, for those of us who are ignorant and need the subtitle.
Hold my hand up to that one, yeah.
But yeah, I think she could throw in a couple of focal just to keep up the other lads. Cearc
galore. We're just going to wrap it up on 3 really quick questions. What's an ideal day of rest and relaxation for you? If somebody said to you, right, you get a day off, there's no pandemic, there's no nothing, what's your ideal day? Just throwing it out there.
Ideal day would be getting up, nowhere to go, just having coffee with the family here to take the morning, just chill out. Then we might go for a swim down in the sea, go for maybe some lunch out in the Phoenix Park in their centre there. Go see family again, watch a rugby match. Actually, I forgot if we can go to a rugby match or go to a rugby match. So probably up, a bit of brunch, go for a swim, and hopefully an afternoon a game in the RDS or Aviva. Have some food out and just enjoy some family and friends time again over what we love to do, go and watch sport. And if I can't watch it, then go play it. Play it in the Aviva would be even better.
There's going to be thousands of people now shedding a tear because you've just described everyone's ideal day. It's just
Just back to real life.
Last question for you. You don't get to avoid it because the two lads didn't get to avoid it either. So
excellent.
Brussels sprouts.
I love them, especially
really?
they're done in the ham water. They don't love me now. They don't love me. I don't think they love many people, but yeah, I definitely love them. I have to say, they're sort of like Bovril, aren't they? They're like a love hate. They are, but I'm going to go with I love them, and especially more now. I think now with pandemic, everyone's like even more so honed in on all of the lovely things that we associate with Christmas, and we want even more so. So I'm definitely going to go for the Brussels sprouts.
Good stuff. Well, Lindsay, we've taken up quite a lot of your time, and we don't want to take on any more. We really just want to say thanks so much for taking the time. It's really great to get the voice out there to all the supporters. It's the first of many across all the teams, given the pandemic. But we just want to say thanks very much. Look after yourself, and look, we all can't wait to roar you back out on the pitch when we're all allowed back in.
No, brilliant. And can I just take the opportunity, Alan, on behalf of the women's team, to thank the Supporters Club for all the work you do in promoting us. And obviously you did the programme for the Harlequins game. And I know you have sent some presents and stuff to Mads, just like the men's team. So we really appreciate you getting behind us and pushing us. So please, on behalf of the team, thank everyone there with the Supporters Club.
Look, it's only a small token of all the supporters, that's what it is. It's all the supporters. That's what we're here for,
Yeah, no, so thank you to everyone. And we can't wait to be back out in a Leinster jersey.
Good stuff. Well, Lindsay, thanks very much. And look after yourself, all right?
Thanks, Million. Mind yourself.
See you now. Bye-bye.
Bye.